Y'all, y'all ready for this?
Hey everybody, welcome to a special episode of The Rewind. There are so many things happening in Colorado. We just can't come to you once a week. Me and my brother, Uncle Neely. I know that sounds weird. My brother, Uncle Neely. We decided, man, we got to give you more content. So we talk to you after the game each week. Neely, we got to talk to the people before the game. It's Friday afternoon right now, me and you chopping it up in less than 24 hours. It's going to be Colorado, USC, right there in Boulder. All the bells and whistles are Neely is just becoming second hand, just old habit. National broadcast, celebrities, man, that you are in the epicenter of college football. How excited are you? What's the buzz? What's the vibe right now on a Friday afternoon?
Well, there's a lot of buzz. There's one thing about being around Coach Prime, Deion Sanders. You never get adjusted to the normal. And what is normal for him is that the attention of national media, the attention of celebrities, the attention of folks who've never paid attention to football before, college football before, are paying attention because what is happening in Colorado, the University of Colorado here in Boulder. So it's one thing that you say, oh, man, I'm used to this. It happens every week. It happens everywhere you go. But you still can't allow yourself to get used to it because this is literally, a historical moment, not just in sports, but in culture. And it's something that people are going to be talking about for decades to come.
All right, so it's a Friday afternoon. You still got plenty of daylight there in Boulder. Deion Sanders notwithstanding, who's the most famous person you've seen today, Neely?
Well, the bulk of the celebrities, they really just come in, Saturday mornings and late Friday nights when we have such an early kickoff. So we had practice this morning, and it was a pretty normal practice. You had some notable alums like Michael Westbrook and Cordell Stewart in attendance. Of course, you had the national broadcast team with Fox, doing their pregame and production notes. But tomorrow will be a totally different story as it relates to who's here and what they're doing while they're here. It's going to look like a movie.
All right, let's talk a little bit about the game heading into it, and then we're going to look back at some of the things that have happened this week. Coach Prime on his radio show, he talked about his son Shilo, who had an injury in the last game, and they're kind of watching him. Do you think that's going to be is it boiling down to that's going to be like a game time decision with Shilo's status tomorrow?
I think it's beyond a game time decision. I think it's just a foregone conclusion that Big 2-1, the headache gang CEO, as he's coined himself, will not be participating in this matchup and just completely healing up for the rest of the schedule. Hasn't been in practice the past couple of days, has been on campus and around and that kind of thing. So at this point, Friday afternoon, I don't anticipate Shilo Sanders playing tomorrow.
All right, so his brother, Shilo Sanders, of course, the spotlight is going to be on him. It was a rough outing last week with protection. We talked about it on the Big Boys episode, and I hope you took Carl to lunch. We're going to get into that in a second. What have you seen in practice this week? I imagine, Neely, that there's been a big emphasis on protecting Shilo tomorrow.
There's absolutely been a big emphasis on it. It is a focal point for this team. It has been, for the 4 previous weeks. It has been all summer. But, you reach a point in your season where you have what you have. Your talent is what you have. And you can get incrementally better with game time experience. But there are not a lot of coaching mechanics 5 weeks in that come into bear that will drastically improve performance other than the sheer will of the player to dig deep and make it happen. You're going to see some schematic things adjust, adding a tight end out there for help, adding a bigger running back for help, those kind of things. But as it relates to the overall offensive line, these guys are giving it their all. They're coached up. They're ready to play. But the true answer to solving the offensive line woes, of Colorado and better protection for Shilo Sanders is going to come in offseason through the portal, transfer portal, and also recruitment from high schools.
Neely, one of the great things that you do with the pregame show on our YouTube channel is, man, you take people behind the rope with things they otherwise would not see. And of course, there's other people associated with the program that do that as well. But you had a video where you and Carl, I think you just released that Friday morning. Who was the coach, Neely? He called it truth or dare. He told the squad, we're going to play a little truth or dare. And man, he laid into him pretty good. It was intense, but it was the thing that you love to see, that emotion and that passion. First, tell me who that was, and make sure you guys check it out. And has that kind of been the vibe this week?
That really hasn't been the vibe this week. That is just Coach Sal. Coach Sal Sunseri, who coaches the defensive line, came here from Alabama under the coaching staff of Nick Saban. And that is just Coach Sal 24/7, man. He doesn't pull any punches. He doesn't hold anything back. You just get to where, hey, man, I'm not even beeping Sal anymore. It's too much Eddie work. You just let him roll. He's going to tell it like it is. And his D-line, they love the way he coaches and communicates. He is a very effective communicator. But I don't think what you heard Coach Sal saying post-practice had anything to do with Oregon. That was the narrative frame, if you will, because Coach Sal is like that every day of the week, 24/7.
So Coach Prime does not swear. Coach Sal swears enough for everybody on the team. But my take
one thing about Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, he has some things that he does not do. But he does not Bible beat you and browbeat you if you do them. So he understands it takes different personalities to coach this team, and everybody can't walk the walk that he walks and talk the talk that he talks. So just because you talk different, teach different, move different from him doesn't mean you can't be a part of the staff. It's all about being effective and all about being a leader. And Coach Sal is an effective leader with some colorful language.
You should start a swear jar, Neely. You can make a killing. Just they got to drop a quarter every time. You'll eat free all week long, every week. Neely, one thing that Coach Prime does is he invites people to pour into the players. Incredible video this week. One of my favorites, Mark Henry, the world's strongest man. Like literally, this guy was a champion in many sports. A lot of people may know him from his time in the world wrestling entertainment. I always want to call it WWF because I'm old. But, man, he really entertained us on that level. And he came in and talked about mental health, man. And he really was open, transparent, and hopefully, and I would think that he did, really connected with some of his struggles talking to the players.
That I wouldn't pay my bills. I wouldn't call my family for weeks. I didn't want to hear nothing from nobody. I just wanted to be by myself, and that's a horrible place to be. And I realized that I was able to talk to people and have a relationship with somebody other than myself during those times. And some of y'all you're gonna get distant. That was my thing. I'm when I get frustrated or angry, I won't talk to nobody. That's not healthy.
One thing that players love is honesty. They love a coach that's shooting direct with them and telling them like it is. And that's exactly what Mark Henry was doing. And before that talk with them, he was meeting with the strength and conditioning staff. Here it is, the world's strongest man. I think he knows something about strength and conditioning. Lived here in Colorado for 3 years, just down the road at the Olympic Training Center. And so he knows what it takes to get yourself mentally and physically ready to perform. And he attached everything that he did with weightlifting and powerlifting to the mental aspect of it, and opened up to those players like, hey, listen to me. Some of the things I did wasn't the best way to do it. And you don't have to wait till you have a problem, to identify solutions. So talk to people. And Coach Prime and the staff here, man, are very open, with the players about the things they went through in their professional trials and tribulations. Coach Prime tells a story often about when he was in Cincinnati and was contemplating suicide, and here he was, one of the most famous people in the world. So Mark Henry did a wonderful job, man, and even took the guys after that. The wrestling match was in town that night, and the team got on the buses and went to watch wrestling.
Yeah, that's the AWE, right? It was the AWE or AWE.
Let's go with it.
Yeah. Look, I watch wrestling, but I just watch, Monday night and SmackDown. But those guys were there. It looks like the tag team champs were there. So make sure you check out that video. But again, more people coming to pour into the Colorado players. And one thing, Neely, that people I'm sure have realized, you can watch these videos and you can get something for yourself. I'm listening to Mark Henry talk, and he's like, look, I was going through struggles, and, my biggest thing was I kept to myself. I shut other people out. I tried to figure it out all myself. And I'm sitting there listening to the video. I'm like, damn, that's me too.
Yeah.
So it's while it was intended for the Colorado players, same thing with the halftime speeches and all that. it goes back to what we say, man. Like, this is football, but like, it's like football is the front door into something like much bigger. And I really get that sense every week, Neely.
And I love when I see what you just said in the comments, man. That people are putting themselves in the shoes of these players, and they're in those huddles and in those locker rooms and in those team meetings, and they're hearing Coach Prime's words and the words of his guests, and they're taking away football from it and putting their profession or their life or their family struggle. And when you go to the pregameshow.com or go to the Pregame Show YouTube channel, you'll see in those comments people going, man, that really helped me today. Like, I needed to hear that. This is bigger than football. And that's one of the things that Coach Prime said when he got here, even said when he got to Jackson State, or he said when he was at Trinity or doing truth football, like, this is bigger than football. We're about impacting lives and about changing the way people see and manage their lives. And you can just tell when you're watching those videos, man, that you can take out the word football, and football and the game are rarely mentioned. These are definitely life skills.
Absolutely. Coach Prime has obviously had a big impact on Travis Hunter, shaping and molding him, not only as a football player, as a man as well. So Travis has been out the last couple of weeks. We all saw the injury, the late hit against Colorado State. There was, the player in question, family started receiving, death threats. He got, doxxed online. And then you see this week that Travis connects with that young man. They go out bowling. It was a way of, like, literally and figuratively, like, burying any hatchet that people thought might be there. And I thought that was, really a class act by Travis. And it's really reflective of not only Coach Prime, but the whole program.
Absolutely. And the player from Colorado State was reaching out that night. This is something that Travis was never mad about. I was in the locker room with him shortly after the injury, and he was never complaining or angry at the other player. Was the hit against the rules? Yes, that's why you had a flag and you had a penalty. It was not, subject to quote unquote target and an ejection, but it was a hit outside of football. But Travis knew, and the player knew, and folks realized that there was nothing about that play that was intended to injure somebody or to lacerate a liver. Football is a collision sport. It's a violent game. When you hit somebody, yeah, you are intending to hurt them, but you're not intending to injure them. And the way the world reacted to that hit and injury, Travis, it felt like it was like, look, hey, man, y'all are making this a bigger deal than it is. I'm the one who got hit, and I ain't that mad about it. Let's calm down. It's the game. It happens. It's going to happen again. I've talked to the player. He reached out to me. And then you see what happened after that reaching out, that they were able to connect in person, have a chit chat, go bowling, hang out together, because there was no ill will. And one of those things that, Coach Prime said after the game and the days after the injury is that, hey, man, this ain't a place for death threats. This is, y'all are making something a life and death issue when this is still just a game. Injuries happen. Let's move on from it.
Neely, what can people expect on Saturday? The last time we saw Colorado at home against Colorado State, we had ESPN and Fox there. Fox is going to be broadcasting their big noon kickoff show. You had Lil Wayne impromptu concert. I mean, it was crazy. Is there a feeling that Colorado has to up the ante every time they're on national TV with the noon kickoff, or what can we expect tomorrow?
Not at all, man. What happens here happens here. There's no orchestration to it. It's a vibe. It's a living energy. As they say in the wrestling days, the electricity is in the air. And then you have to also acknowledge when you add in an opponent like USC, a Southern California team, a LA area team, they have a bevy of stars and supporters who follow them historically. So you're going to see, the Will Ferrells and LeBron James here. LeBron, of course, has a relationship with Deion Sanders, but his son is at USC. So when you add in, the Fox Big Noon kickoff, you add in Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, you add in a team that was once 1-11 less than a year ago is now 3-1, and then you add in an opponent like USC. You're going to get another impromptu Lil Wayne concert. You might even get a Snoop Dogg concert because of this is just a perfect alignment of the stars at this place in Boulder, and it's all happening because of Deion Sanders.
All right, so we talked about this earlier in the week that we were going to need a commitment from Snoop Dogg because, I'm sure he's being recruited by his connections and roots at USC, his relationship with Coach Prime. Did we get anything on the record this week from Snoop about where his heart will lie on Saturday?
We will see when Saturday comes, but I do want to point out to folks, when you watch the Jackson State documentary on Coach Prime and what was happening at the HBCU, if you listen to the narration of that documentary, it's Snoop Dogg. And I'm just saying, the guy has put his mouth where his heart is. If he can speak and narrate a documentary for Coach Prime, I think he's going to support Coach Prime's team.
And he provided the rap intro for Coach Prime's podcast as well, didn't he?
Yeah. So clearly, he's a fan of Deion Sanders and the works of Coach Prime. So I wouldn't be surprised if he had on one of those jerseys you see where people have one half one color and the other half the other. But I'm expecting him to be a Buffalo this weekend.
All right, Neely, does this game mean anything other than it's the next game? You got number 5 USC coming in. You got Caleb Williams. We're going to have these 2 high-profile quarterbacks. Internally, is there any extra spotlight on this game, or is it just the opponent for this weekend?
Internally, it's just opponent for this week. This team has always said our goal is to go 1-0 each week. We went 1-0 week 1. We went 1-0 week 2. Went 1-0 week 3. Took a loss and won week 4. Now the goal is to go 1-0 again, and it'll be the same goal next week. Externally, this is another game back-to-back where you have a true measuring stick of where this program is right now. Clearly, this program is not the 1-11 team that once was. Coach Prime has built overnight through the portal, through his coaching staff, through his leadership, a team that can compete. We went into TCU, 21-point underdogs, beat number 17 in the nation, said we couldn't beat Nebraska, did that. Colorado State was tougher than people thought it was going to be, but won that one in double overtime with flair from Shilo Sanders to get it done. Went to Oregon and took a big loss. But here's another game against USC where it's a measuring stick again. Where we're trying to get to as a program is the national championship. To get to a national championship, you have to be competitive and win games within that top 10 ranking. Oregon was number 10 when we played them. USC was number 5. They've moved back to number 8. So once again, you play a team, no matter what the scoreboard says at the end, Tolly, you know what you have, you know what you need, and what you're going to have to do differently to get where you're trying to go. So doesn't mean much inside to the players. It's just the next opponent. But from a global standpoint, 30,000 feet view, it's really going to tell you a lot about the program, where we are, because we're no longer 1-11, but also what we need to get where we're going.
Neely, so many people depend on you for that inside information and context, I guess might be the better word. How much is this team going to miss Shilo? He's an intimidating presence. He's the leading tackler. He literally brings you the headache from that safety position. Can one person replace him? Is it going to have to be a couple of guys stepping up? What are your thoughts there?
There's a good correlation back there, a good mix of safeties. You got Trevor Woods, who got that interception at TCU to seal that game. You got Cameron Silman-Craig, who got a interception against Nebraska, who came from Jackson State, been with Coach Prime since his high school days. So there's some talent back there and some leadership back there. But Shilo Sanders is Shilo Sanders. There's no other. His leadership, his personality, being vocal on the sideline in the locker room will be difficult to replace. But he's not the only one down. You got Miles Slusher, who plays a hybrid linebacker safety position, is out. You got Carter Stottmeyer, whose father played in the NFL with Coach Prime at corner, who's out. So there's a depleted secondary that will be going against, the Heisman Trophy winner and one who is also putting up leading numbers this season in Caleb Williams. But they're not folding a tent. These guys are able to step up. You look what Amarian Cooper has done, stepping in now to the starting role with those injuries. So it's the next man up philosophy around here. There's talent and depth at those areas, in the secondary. So we feel good about what we're going to war with.
Neely, let's talk about our community with the pregame show. Cool story for you, man. You're in Oregon, 8,000 miles away from, well, at least from where I am. And this couple comes up to you, man, from Texas. Tell us about that couple.
Yeah, I'm doing my pregame stuff on the sideline, making sure my mics are charged up. grabbing B-roll, that kind of thing, and can hear someone screaming Uncle Neely from the stands. And here we are in Oregon, who knows me here? Because one thing I'll say about those Oregon fans, they don't sell their tickets, man. They had that place packed with themselves. Look up in the stands, and there's a white couple, hey, Uncle Neely. So I called them down, tell security, let them come to the rail right there. And they explained to me that, hey, man, because of the Pregame show and the YouTube content, we had to travel from Texas for this game. We're here because of the show. So I got to meet them, take pictures with them. And, you see and hear that kind of energy when I'm around Boulder, of course. But to experience that all the way in Eugene, Oregon, let you know the impact that these programs will have. So there might be coaches out there who are saying we're doing it for the clicks, but it's clearly working as it relates to people having attention and some affinity to your program. So we're going to keep putting it out there, man.
Click envy is not a good thing. Don't be guilty of click envy. Neely, you are such a star. I'm sitting in my office trying to edit some video. And, I'm listening to Colin Coward on FS1. And Coach Prime led the show. It was probably Tuesday or Wednesday. And I look up, and I just see this beard on my screen looping over and over. There was probably a good 5 minutes of Uncle Neely looped on FS1 this week, man. You are – I just want to be like you, Uncle Neely.
Well, I appreciate that. Did not see those clips, but Coach Prime has put a high level of trust in me and blessed me with the opportunity to some aspects on game day and behind the scenes be a right-hand man. And, that puts me in proximity to him. And one thing he's always said is that, hey, when the light is on me, it's going to be on you too. So be ready because it's going to show your bright spots and your blemishes. So you never know when that time and attention is coming, but I'm grateful for it and appreciate the trust he has in me. And I don't care if it's filming or editing or interviewing him at halftime or postgame, or once the game is over, becoming part of security detail. We do whatever it takes to make sure that this program is moving forward, man. So love to hear it, love to see it, but it ain't about me, man. It's about the student athletes.
Well, it really is about your beard. That is the thing that just draws me in every time. All right, there's the beard. There's my guy. On our next episode, I'm not prepared to do it today, or one of the episodes to come, I'm going to bring up a screenshot, and it's going to be the after-game security. There's a list of brothers that I want to know who they are because I see them every weekend when the game is over. I'm like, that's that brother. I see that brother. I want you to give me a rundown of who these brothers are because they are entrusted by Coach Prime.
I will do, man. And funny story about that, I'm in the Denver airport headed to Oregon, and there's a brother looking at me like he knows me, and he says, hey, man, you're with Coach Prime. And I'm thinking he's going to say, pregame show stuff. And I said, yeah, I work with Coach Prime. He said, I see you at the end of every game on TV, with that circle around him, making sure he gets out of there safely. Man, it's you and a brother with a cowboy hat.
That's the brother I want to know. The one with the cowboy hat. I see him every week. I'm like, I got to know who this guy is. It's a thing, man. You guys need a name because literally you guys have your routine. It's hand on shoulder. You make the circle. You guys, we need to up the marketing on the post game security because you guys are a whole mood.
Coach Prime is a national treasure, man, and must be protected at all costs.
Got that right. Absolutely. All right, man. We are looking forward to it. I know you're going to come across our TV screen at least 3 times tomorrow. It's another nationally televised game. It is appointment television. The big noon game, 12 noon on the East Coast. I love it. I love to just get this thing done. And then after that, I can go on with the rest of my day. Looking forward to an exciting game. Special edition here. We're looking to bring you more content. It's the Rewind, the pregame show. He's Uncle Neely. I'm Tolly Carr. Enjoy the game this weekend. We'll talk to you early next week about whatever happens.